Most of you who watch this show, who are fans of this show, know about Tim Black's very staunch support of Bernie Sanders.
We want our teachers to be focused on the children, not have to drive an Uber, or not have to serve coffee, because teaching is as important a job as exists in America. And that is why I want to move us to the day when no teacher in America makes less than $60,000 a year. And when teachers do not have to work 4 jobs. And when we talk about education, again, think outside of the box. The world has changed over the last 100 years. When we think about public education today, not good enough just to think about kindergarten through 12th grade. That was great 50 years ago. World has changed. When we talk about public education today, we should be talking about making public colleges and universities tuition free. And canceling all student debt in this country. All right, I got another radical idea for you. If you haven't walked out of the room yet for all this communism and all this stuff, here's another radical idea. You ready for this one? I know I'm hitting you hell out over the head today. What about the United States joining every other major country on earth and guaranteeing health care to all people as a human right? Now, you know, you hear from my opponents, you hear from Trump, you hear from everybody. It's too radical. It can't be done. Gee, let's see. Canada does it. Canada doesn't. United Kingdom does it, France does it, Germany does it, Holland does it, Finland does it, Sweden does it, Denmark does it, Norway. Gee, it is done in every other major country on earth. Healthcare is a human right, not a privilege.
And the reason why was policy. Never met Bernie Sanders. I don't worship Bernie Sanders, the person. I don't worship people. I just believe that he would have been a much better option than Biden and anybody else that was on that stage. I digress. So Bernie Sanders is now teamed up. Him and Biden have formed a task force to create a platform that Biden is supposed to adopt. We all know the task force and other things is similar to the one the DNC was supposed to adopt. I don't have a lot of faith in task forces.
You know, today there were these sort of working groups, policy committees that some folks from your presidential campaign staff had been engaged in with the Biden staff. They announced some of the results of that. I saw a poll today I thought was very interesting that showed, I think it was 87% of Sanders supporters supporting Joe Biden, only 4% supporting Trump. And basically the picture it painted, and this is across the various candidates who are in that very crowded primary field, was a very unified Democratic Party, a very unified electorate in defeating Trump. Is that your sense of where things are right now?
Absolutely. Look, I think every person who voted for me, and I think for the other Democratic candidates, fully understands that Donald Trump is the most dangerous president, if not in the modern history of our country, then in the overall history of our country. And that it is absolutely imperative that we come together and defeat him badly. I was glad to work with the vice president in forming 6 separate task forces, which had some of the most knowledgeable people in the country coming together to deal with education and climate change and healthcare and the economy and criminal justice and immigration reform. And these folks, needless to say, people who represented the progressive movement had a different perspective on things than did Biden's people. But there was serious discussion and I think a real honest effort to come up with a compromise. And I think the compromise that they came up with, if implemented, will make Biden the most progressive president since FDR. It did not have, needless to say, everything that I wanted, didn't have everything that Biden wanted. But there is no question that on some of the major issues facing this country, if that agenda is implemented, life will improve for tens and tens of millions of working people. It'll improve for our environment and for climate change, criminal justice, and for the needs of low-income people.
So now this task force and what Joe Biden has committed to do is going to be far less than what Bernie's implementations would have been. We all understand that Joe Biden is never going to go for Medicare for all, even a single-payer system. We all acknowledge that. We also recognize that Green New Deal ain't going to happen. Legalizing cannabis ain't going to happen. This is why it was important for us to kind of line up behind a candidate that did support those things. But we couldn't do that. And there are people still to this day bashing Bernie Sanders. They still doing it. Didn't the surrogate thing end for you? Still bashing her? Biden has supposedly moved left when it comes to healthcare somewhat. He's talking about this government option. I thought he was always talking about a government option. But it's a government-run insurance option that would be offered to all Americans on a sliding scale and be automatically given to those low-income folks, who don't reach the scale. Similar to Mr. Biden's most recent health proposal, this one would allow Americans to become eligible for Medicare at 60 instead of 65. That's a step back because Hillary was offering 55, wasn't it? The task force also recommends special insurance options for people during the coronavirus epidemic. For those who lost coverage because they became unemployed, the task force suggests the federal government pay the full cost of continuing the coverage under the federal law known as COBRA. Biden's view on criminal justice shifted drastically since he passed the 94 crime bill. Oh, wow, that's great, Johnson. It's great to hear that he did that. The task force recommendations reinforce that transformation. They call for eliminating private prisons, ending cash bail, eliminating mandatory minimum sentences, steps that both candidates supported in the primary. Now, the task force called for decriminalizing marijuana and legalizing it at the federal level for medical use, but for letting the states decide whether to legalize it for recreational use. That's the position Mr. Biden held in the primary, in contrast to Bernie, who wanted full legalization. I'm going to stop reading now because, folks, here's the deal. These are just recommendations. There is no blood oath that Biden has to do any of this shit. I'm sorry, there just isn't. It's like a guy telling you, ladies, it's like a guy telling you, I'm going to do really nice things for you if you just, be my girl. Point I'm trying to make is you never know, right? And that's all you're getting with Biden is you never know. I'm sorry, but there's no excitement at all coming from Tim Black on that you never know. And we come right back to where we were in 2016. People were saying the same thing about Hillary. Oh, Hillary could be the most transformational president ever in life. Yeah, you could be a lot of things. She could also be a ballet dancer, a figure skater, and a synchronized swimmer. She could be. She could also be a starting center for the, Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, she could also drive a car with her feet and paint the Picasso with a breast sticking out of her armpit or her butt crack. All these things could happen. But what's really going to happen, more than likely, is she's going to bend to the will of the DNC and the establishment and the elites. That's what's probably more than likely going to happen. If people would just be honest and just say, you're screwed. But we think we'd be more screwed with Trump. I'd accept that. At least better than I accept this. Okay? Because that's the reality. That's the reality of how I see it. That's how most people see it. I got an interview I did with Michael Moore. It's going to be released tomorrow. I'm not sure of the time. Join my text group by texting CORNBREAD to code 21000 so that I can text you the exact time when I'm dropping it. But a lot of people feel very strongly that Trump is the end, that Trump is, only going to make things worse for people, for working people. and help his friends out more in the next 4 years if he gets reelected. These are this task force, this implementation, this plan. God bless the people going in there trying to fight for things, but you can't fight for nothing when you lose. There's nothing there is no demands you can make at this point. You blame Bernie if you want. When they coalesced around Biden, that took away all bargain. People think, oh, Bernie still could have. Yeah, they took it. Everybody fell in behind Biden. All of them. So not to relitigate the primaries again, because we all still upset about it. Everybody's still pissed about it. I just don't want anyone, and I mean anyone, to get their hopes up high about this. Anything that Bernie's able to eke out of this, great. If Biden really wanted to win this presidency, if he really wanted to win, he'd come out right now and say, I'm going to legalize cannabis. He'd make big, bold statements. Trump may be a buffoon, but you know what? He's a bold buffoon who makes bold statements about what he wants to get done. That's how he got elected. It's not really magic. He said, I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to make America great. And Biden saying, I'm going to center the refocus and the dream and the lights and then we're going to restore the dignity of and then we're going to get people back and make them love each other again. And we're going to have people petting doggies and walking old ladies across the street. And we're going to do all, and we're going to help the flowers grow. And we're going to, watch the sun rise together. And people are like, what? What are you going to do for us? He's like, what? Vote for Trump then. Vote for Trump then, fat. And you want to go outside, want to do some push-ups, want to fight, want to body slap, want to body slap, or go to the body, what you want to do? Want to go to the head? We can mix it up, So that's what Biden's doing. A recipe for loss. But what's Bernie going to do? We want him not do the task force, everything gets blamed on him. He gets blamed on him if he loses, get blamed on him if he forms a task force and tries to interject into the plan. You get blamed if he doesn't. You say, we should have went in there and should have at least talked to the guy. But if he doesn't talk to the guy, he gets blamed. If he does talk to the guy, he gets blamed. 87% of Bernie Sanders supporters are going to vote for Biden. 4% voting for Trump. What's the other 16% going to do? 87 plus 4? No, 6. 6, 8, 10, 4, 9. What's the rest? What's the other 9 going to do? You can lose an election with that 9% easy. We're having that conversation. Hillary lost by 77,000 votes. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. All right. If you really want to dump Trump, America should have said, no Joe. Johnson's out there. Don't forget to check out the Michael Moore podcast. It's called Rumble, and you can get it on iTunes and anywhere else you get podcasts. And don't forget to become a member of the Tim Black Wolf Pack right here. I got love for you. Peace, Johnson. Wolf Pack.